All right, I think we are ready to go. We are ready to go. How's it going, everybody? We're gonna put you back up there. Sorry about that. Gotta close
Good.
that out. Yeah, I know. I said I was gonna put something behind you, but oh well. There's the first
Right.
fuck up for the live show.
Hey, you
How's it
know
going,
what? We're,
everybody?
we're, we're
This
still
is
learning.
yes, indeed. This is first time for both of us going live. But what we got here is we got right outside the narrative here with my first live show. Everybody, thank you for coming in. If you are here already, and if you are not, then you are going to miss this. And I'm talking to just my guest, ACM News here. We've got ACM News. Go give him a follow. Link is into the description to his channel. He's already a well-established YouTuber compared to little old me, and decided, hey, let's get together and do some work together. I do have him to thank, by the way, for my new intro, which is fantastic, and he made it himself as a Christmas present for me. So thank you, ACM News. His wife made my logo, so thank you to ACM News' wife, and she's in the chat there. She is Tonya. Hello, 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 and so everybody. What we got here is just kind of a free form conversation. I didn't have too much time to get this going as we were trying to figure out the technical stuff. However, I think we're going good now. If you've never seen me before, my name is Merc. I am of Right Outside the Narrative, YouTube channel that talks about things that people either are not talking about or should be talking about, and in a way that they are not talking about it, especially of anything to do with the establishment narrative that is being pressed and pushed and forced onto everybody in this country. So, without further ado, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself, ACM?
Hey, guys, I'm Mike Hunt, ACM. For those of you that know me, awesome. For those of you who don't know me, be sure to get us all subscribed, man. Get us hooked up here. Get us out there and get this information, because that's what we're really about. Is we're not neither one of us. That's kind of why we decided we're going to be so good working on a collab, is because neither one of us are really in this for the money so much or anything like that. What we're really looking for is to get the information out there that, like, the mainstream media is trying to hide. I mean, isn't that kind of way you feel about it, Merc? I
Absolutely,
mean,
absolutely.
you know.
Yeah, we're not going to get
So
the information we need from the mainstream media anymore. That day has long gone behind us, and it's time for everybody to find the sources that they trust, and that they really, you know, have to dig into their own research to find any of the truth these days. So let's add to that pile of voices that are speaking that truth and pointing out to people where that narrative is false. And as ACM said, yes, please like and subscribe on the video if you like what you're seeing. Give him a like and a subscribe, or I should say subscribe anyway, since I don't think he's live on his channel, so you can't like anything yet until the videos go up later. But please he'll go hit up his channel, click subscribe, click on that bell so you know whenever he does upload anything new. Do the same for me, and that'll help us out definitely. Here, this is the first, again, this is our first live stream, so any help we can get is definitely going to help us out a whole lot. David, how's it going, bro? Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for showing up. So Mike, what we discussed a little earlier, we had a general kind of idea of what things we wanted to talk about. Things that are relevant, things that are maybe recent as far as news, and then other things maybe about ourselves.
right.
If you don't mind, man, I kind of wanted to start out actually kind of retouching on the my return to YouTube portion of it. Just a quick overrun of that. I did do a whole video on it, guys. If you want to look, it's called "I'm No Longer Cancelled." Please watch that video. It's a story of what happened with this channel in its sort of start and then end and then recreation and whatnot as a result of the wokeness entering my life and career. So give that video a watch. But in short, I just want to say, basically, I started this channel to do as what Mike was saying, as we were saying, that the narrative that we're getting from news is anything but accurate as far as what the reality of the world we're living in is, and how people really are, and what people really want in this country. So I started this channel to say, hey, you know what? I think it's about time So there's some content on the internet of a Southern California conservative minority who is not
Surprise.
who is not. I'm sorry.
Surprise.
Yeah, yeah, who is not at all fitting in or seeing things the way that the narrative is saying that I'm supposed to be. I figured, it's there's a few YouTube channels out there that I have gotten my inspiration from. Anthony Brian Logan, obviously, Officer Tatum. Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Tim Pool at times, Adam Krigler, definitely. Adam Krigler has helped me out a lot, actually, guys. His whole community, his team, his staff. I got in pretty good with them. They started helping me out with my channel originally. Shout out to the Krigler Show. Please go give him a follow and check him out. He's fantastic. He very, very interesting story. He started as kind of, they called him Soy Jesus. He's a vegan, skater ex model who was a liberal when he started on Timcast, and throughout the year of his time there, he started red pilling and became a hardcore Trump supporter, and then started his own channel, and now he's like right here with us speaking the real narrative. So go give him a follow. I like to give him a shout out a lot because, again, he's shown a lot of support. He's about the biggest YouTuber that's shown me support, so I definitely want to give him a shout out. Anyway, that being said, so I started the channel, and things seemed to be going good. I was making videos about guns, making videos about red pill, making videos about abortion, my opinions on these, my views on these things, and then what happened was my job hired somebody that was in this woke culture. That person freaked out on everybody, started problems, tried to get me fired. Didn't work, and then they fired him, and then he stalked me and found my YouTube channel and sent it to my employer. They said, you got to take that stuff down or edit it or whatever, and they didn't care that it was my personal stuff. I got scared of losing my job. I just shut down the channel. I hid all my videos and said, nope, it's not worth it. I need to make sure I can pay, my mortgage and da-da-da. And then, what happened this year was literally at the beginning of this year, New Year's, basically, just weeks ago, things started to click in my head. I started to see how many people were crumbling, just like I did. How many people were just saying, you know what, it's not worth making ripples. It's not worth stirring things up. I'm just going to keep quiet, and things will blow over. And that disgusts me when I see it. When I see people doing that, when I see people not speaking up when they know something's wrong. And I'm always on other people's YouTube channels. I'm always posting in their comment sections, on forums, on wherever, my really strong opinionated ideal of freedom and liberty, and we should not be afraid, and everybody needs to live their life. And I sit back and I'm like, wow, I'm not listening to myself. I bowed down to all that and shut down my YouTube. So I said, fuck that. No. It's time to open it back up and move forward the way that I think every one of us Americans should be moving forward, is fearless. So here I am. I'm back. This is my first live show. Figured, first live show, let's have a guest, somebody who's also in this space with me, and a friend. ACM's here, so I just wanted to get that out. Here we are. And so, yeah, there's that. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on that whole situation, Mike, as in
Well,
regards to my
I've
YouTube
got,
channel?
I've definitely got to say, more than anything, I'm glad that you came back, and I'm glad that you're abusing your white privilege to be here and do this, and come back and start doing all this, and get the word out there. And all we can really hope for is that get a few more people out there to kind of be on the same narrative where with you, and I know you're planning on hitting on it a little bit more later on, but I mean, the fact of your whole being red pilled. I mean, of course, I'm not going to go into that as much as what you would, because obviously you're going to have that experience a whole lot more. Um,
True.
I've
Fair
just
enough.
been I've been a righty. Well, we're going to say yeah, my entire life. That'd be a good way to say it. But like I said, I'm really glad you're back. I'm glad that basically it's that much less chance that they're just going to sit there and keep one other person down. And it's kind of just like anything else, to where when they start kicking at somebody, I mean, everybody always says, do not apologize.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Because all they do is just keep
They're just
kicking
gonna
you, and
keep
it
kicking
doesn't
you.
matter.
Yeah.
That's just it, But
I mean,
hell,
unfortunately, I hate to steal it. There's a phrase going around, probably started on the Beanie Show or something, but it's a really good phrase, and and I've heard it outside of that at this point, and it's you cannot comply yourself out of tyranny. A lot of people are like, hey, if I just shut up and do it, it'll be over soon, and we're 3 years into that. We're 3 years into 15 days to slow the spread.
right? That brings up another one of my favorites, which was a good old Thomas Jefferson. And he actually said that when the government is in control and everybody in the public is in fear, then that is when there is tyranny. And when the government is in the one that's in fear, well, that's when you actually have justice and peace and everything else. And that's what a lot of us have lost is, they're just trying to take more control, more power, and everything else, and just kick the guy down. And I think a lot of it also is we ought to get to is, man, what is their final outcome? What are they trying to do with all
Yeah,
this?
what is the end goal? I mean, assuming let's play the game for now of everything that the narrative is saying is true, is honest. This is all an accident, and let's just take it at face value. That being the case, they still utilize the opportunity to take power and control. That
Definitely.
that part that part leaves me on a, well, what is that goal? What's the goal on that? And then we have, if we back out even further, not playing that game. If we take the likelihood, or at least I should say the self-evident reality that we have, that there's some seriously dark shit going on here from the conception of where did the hell did this virus come from.
That's putting it mildly.
Exactly.
Uh,
At
Yeah.
that point, Casparius, welcome to the show. Good to see you, brother. This is a longtime follower and friend. He's shown support as well. Just want to shout him out in the chat. Glad you can join us tonight, Ben. Sorry.
Welcome
Anyway,
on.
so the let's take it at that without face value, looking at the clearly malicious nature of what's going on. That goal has to be different than the goal that would be in the game of this is all legit, but we're still going to take power. And I don't think there's a way for anybody to, and I mean anybody in telling us the narrative. I don't think
Right.
there's any way for them to convey anything at this point that will make sense that we're allowed to hear.
No, no.
Um,
I
it's
mean,
scary.
January 6th.
Yes. January 6th. I find. Did you see Russell Crowe, or not Russell Crowe? Sorry, Russell Brand's recent video about that?
Actually, I haven't. No.
Russell. Well, I don't know if you've seen Russell Brand lately. He's red pilling hard, like
Oh, yeah, I have
really
seen that.
hard. He's
Yeah.
really close.
Dead 180. Yeah.
Really close.
Yeah.
He just did a video on January 6th where he's looking at all this evidence about everything, and he's like, "Is there something wrong? Could this have been set up?" And I posted on his video. I said, "Hey, welcome to the party. We're glad you can join us. We've been waiting because we all knew this since the day it happened." So I want to know about if that was the case with you. The day this happened, I was working. I was right here working, and and we knew that there was going to be a speech that day. We knew that they
Yeah.
were going that there was that Congress was going to be meeting, and that there was going to be doing a count or whatever Pence was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And we knew there was going to be a rally.
Sure.
Right? I was the whole day had it up over here on my other monitor, and I'm like, okay, and I'm expecting Antifa is going to show up and do something stupid, and likely they're going to show up in MAGA hats. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought the entire time. Now, granted, it's not looking like Antifa had anything to do with that as much as the FBI. Actually, it looks like the feds are the ones that stirred that up. But nonetheless, it was absolutely clear that that was going to happen. And when it was happening, I was like, "Look at this. This is not. These aren't. That's not us. That's not what
No.
we do. That's
No.
not what we do. That's not what we preach. That's not what we claim. That's not what we support." It was damn obvious that these were, if anything, a very, very niche, small handful of people that stirred up the rest of the crowd. It was clear. It was absolutely obvious. We didn't even need to see all the weird evidence, the pipe bomb stuff. We didn't need to see all
No.
that.
Now there was a lot of hype fed out there. That was obvious to get these people riled up, and it's just kind of like the same bad actors that a lot of them are out there with Antifa and everybody else during these other riots and everything, where they were burning every damn thing down under the sun. Which magically, still trying to figure out how that's not being taken care of. Hell, our good old vice president's worried about getting those people out of jail for doing that. But not to get too far off topic.
No. Let me stop
You know,
you.
go ahead.
Our good old vice president is paying for them to get out of jail
Yes.
for all that. Not just careless, not just talking
Yep.
about it, not just worried.
Yep.
Set up a foundation and a fund and paying for their bails.
Exactly. That's proof of how anti-American. In my opinion, that's you're literally looking to get people out of jail that have done everything they can to try and destroy a city. I mean, how can the people in the city feel about that? How about the elderly people that can't get to their Walgreens or their CVS or anything like that to get the prescriptions anymore because it got burnt to the ground, over narratives that were carried too far and by bad actors that were sitting there to kick this up, and our vice president is the one that wants to let these people off and
Yeah.
get them out of jail.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, because she
but
has to appear that she's the minority godsend, and just
sure.
gonna protect us weak folk. Us black folk can't do anything for ourselves. So Miss VP, please protect me. And allow me to be a criminal. Allow me to break the law because I don't know no better. I don't know.
Right.
I can't do no better than that. I can just be a criminal. That's as good as
Right.
I can be. And she just wants to force all the white people to accept that, as if that's how they should view us. It's the most racist shit in the world, and people are starting to wake up to that. At least finally,
Yeah.
not enough, but
It's starting to come around.
yeah,
It is.
I'm so far. It's finally to the point now where 9 out of 10 black people, Mexican, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter, minorities are not Biden supporters anymore. They're not. They see it. They're like,
Right.
this whole administration is racist and insulting and condescending, and they're finally seeing that. They're finally seeing
Right.
it.
And I sat there and I look over and I think about back when he literally sat there and said that, if you vote for Trump and don't know to vote for me, then you ain't
Then you
black.
ain't
You
black.
know what?
I can't believe
I,
that
I,
I can't believe he won after that.
I can't believe that somebody wasn't there with the mute button saying, whoa, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah. Why
You
didn't the
know?
screen go boo with those color blocks? You
Right?
know what I mean?
Right?
Technical difficulties. Oops, president just went full on racist to the public.
Oh, I'm telling you. But, and like I said, back
And the
on
host,
January.
that was, who was it? Was that Zuby or was it, no, that was Charlemagne the God, right?
Yeah, yes, it was.
And yeah, he pushed back a little bit, but nowhere near how much he should have. He should have been, what the fuck did you just say to me on my show, dude? That's how he should respond. He said, what the fuck?
He pushed back a little bit when he got his interview with Kamala here a while back, but that's another whole story there. that
She
was pretty damn funny
lost
to
it
me.
on him too.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy.
That was good.
It's now. I mean, well, I've never liked her on the screen, even when she was running, and she was losing, and then got out of the race. I was like, good riddance. I hated that woman. I
Right?
don't ever want to hear her
Right?
speak again.
And the
And
funniest
so,
part is that wasn't just you, man.
no, it's everybody.
98% of the United
Yes,
States.
nobody likes her. And well, I've got hard lefty family members that like her because she's black, because my family members are racist and they only care that she's black. Just like
Yeah.
they only care that Obama was black. They don't care how bad of a president he was. They're still reading books about him to this day about how great Obama was. I'm like, let that shit go. But I don't see how at this point both Biden and Kamala shouldn't even be allowed on the television. Like they shouldn't
No.
even risk that.
Yeah.
Like at this point, it should all just be deep fakes. We got the tech. They should just be like, yeah, let's
Oh,
just CGI them. Let's just record them talking and then edit it so it sounds like English.
I mean,
And
putting
then,
Biden on the air is elderly abuse at this point, anyway. I mean, it's saddening. I
it
mean,
is. It is.
he's obviously a puppet, and the worst part is, I mean, there are so many people that don't realize it. At least 33% of the approval rating that he
Yeah.
still has doesn't realize
Jesus. That's the lowest approval rating since Carter.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yep.
it might be passing him at this point.
You know,
Um,
I'll tell you, I got to bring this back up on the January 6th thing too. You know
Please.
what? I will say that there were some bad actors. I mean, whether they were coaxed into doing shit, whatever, pushing through barricades, okay, there were bad actors. That is not the conservative point of view. We all know that, but if they were able to be pushed in that direction, then they're already a damn idiot. And yeah, they deserve to get fined and what the hell ever for what they did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I
but
mean,
the
on
thing-
one hand, if you're there and then a cop opens the door for you and come on in and they're guiding you through the rails this way. I mean, there's that, but then, a shaman chieftain or whatever, he knew he was
was in the wrong.
He knew he was in the
Yeah.
wrong for that. The other guy that stole he stole Nancy or somebody, he stole somebody's cell phone and some shit from their office.
Solar laptop and a few other things.
Yeah,
I'd love to see what they
I
actually
would
found
love
on
to
there,
see
but
it, and I would love if they were like, "Hey, I know I'm wrong for this, but I'm going down for I'm taking one for the team. Here we go."
I'll be looking for that on a future episode of Veritas. You know,
Exactly.
you know, but it's like I think the thing that just sat there and to put it as mildly as I possibly can really chapped my ass was the other day when they decided they had to have several moments of silence, okay, during the Congress. Nancy Pelosi kept having to hold moments of silence. Chuck Schumer had to hold moments of silence. What the hell were they holding moments of silence for? The one person that out of
That actually
control freaking cop killed?
Yeah, the only person that got
What?
killed during that was an actual Trump supporter who was very in the wrong. Let's not lie and say that Ashley Babbitt
No.
was out of her mind
No,
for being
but-
ex-military and crawling through a broken window in Congress. I mean, that was maybe
Yep.
she was just a little too excited, sure, but they murdered her.
Yep.
She was murdered. Ashley Babbitt was murdered,
100%.
100%, and it's on film.
Yeah.
It's on film. She
Yep.
was murdered.
I mean, just point blank.
And we don't hear anything about that. We don't
No.
hold moments of silence about her.
No. No, that's what I say. What were these moments of silence for?
It's
I mean-
it's just to push the narrative. It's to push.
Yeah.
It's just to pull on America's heartstrings to make them very much hate conservatives.
Oh,
Anytime
well,
anytime you do a televised moment of silence, you're telling society that whatever the silence is about is
Yeah.
righteous.
Yeah. And I mean, how does it feel to be, I mean, as being a conservative, you know as well as I do that you are the black face of white supremacy.
Absolutely. That's
know?
that's actually my title on my Discord. The black face of white supremacy. Every one of us need to go ahead and pull that one out because that Larry Elder shit was ridiculous.
Oh,
that
it
was
was.
absolutely
It
ridiculous.
was.
And look, here we are.
Completely.
He lost. That was fine. No, they didn't get in trouble for that. The fucking
No.
Los Angeles, or no, I'm sorry, that was Was it the Los Angeles Times or the New York Times? Or both
I
that
think it was
printed that?
both actually.
Both of them printed Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy. They should be sued to shit. He should own both of those publications by now. I can't believe that. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean it's truly amazing. Uh, as Jesse Peterson would say, that's amazing.
That's
You know,
amazing. You
I know
know,
you know I know you know who Jesse Peterson is.
very little bit, and yes, the
Oh, he's another black face of white supremacy. Trust me, he's a very conservative and very intelligent man. Very soft spoken, but very intelligent man.
and that's I'm live. It's going to be a lot harder for me to control it. If you notice, there's a different canter to my live vibe than my videos. I figured there's I mean I have to say I'm succumbing to some of the stereotypical fears, and I didn't want to be another angry black guy on YouTube, right? I didn't
Yeah,
want people to go to the thumbnail of my videos and just see, and then oh, next I've seen enough angry loud black guys. So having people that are more soft spoken, clear spoken, level headed, that's good. We need more of those. That's why I like Anthony Brian Logan. He's
yeah,
no emotion,
yeah.
just I'm just not that way, guys. I'm a very passionate person. I'm very animated. This is what you're gonna get on the live shows. On the
Tatum definitely gets a little wound up
oh
too.
yeah,
So
oh yeah, he does. He does. Oh man, and it's funny too because he lets it go. Doesn't even change the mic levels. Like no, this is gonna get loud.
no,
He's doing
yeah,
very well, man. He's doing very well right now.
yeah.
He's got to deal with Daily Wire. He's working with Candace Owens.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah, and yeah. Speaking of, you mentioned, I'm going to do this for editing purposes. You mentioned, me being a conservative,
Sure.
and the black face of whiteness, obviously, and whatnot. I did want to mention, to the chat, I was not always conservative. As a matter of fact, that's pretty recent, as in that's probably since 2016, 2017. 2017 probably is more accurate. I was raised liberal, Democrat. My family hard, every single one of them hard Democrat. I in high school even I had which is very interesting for some extra credit and to graduate early. My economics teacher had me sign up to work for a campaign in Rancho Cucamonga, California, and this was for Republican candidate Eli Perosi. And I knew nothing of politics at this point. I was still in high school, and I remember when I got in there, one of the campaign managers, said, "Hey, kid, let me talk to you. Do you know what the difference is between Republican and this and that?" And I'm like, I really don't. I'm here for school. And he's like, well, if I give you a job and I pay you $10 an hour, and you get your check, and half your money is gone, and I give that half of money to people who aren't working, is that going to make you happy? And I said, absolutely not. He said, oh, okay, so you are a Republican.
Right.
But I didn't know what he was talking about, so whatever. But I did great in that campaign. I learned a lot about how politics works, working for his campaign, doing cold calling, doing that stuff. And that was just in high school. But nonetheless, after that, I continued. I was on the shit end of my goth identity. I was really heavily into drugs and partying and whatever. And then I got in after high school. I went into computers. I went directly into a vocational school to get certified, and then directly started my career the next year, and then started following politics ever so slightly after 9/11.
Right.
And then I tried to enlist. Was told I was too fat. What are you gonna do? And I was like, okay, I'd stop paying attention. And then of course I started paying attention again when Obama, became a name and running for the presidency. And my family was like, oh my God, it's finally happening. It's finally happening. This and that. And I jumped on board with that. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. No matter what he's about, let's vote for him. I absolutely, let's. And That was the first presidential vote that I ever cast, was for Obama.
Was it?
Yeah. And I feel terrible about it. I'll never forgive myself for that one. Not only was it just, oh, that was a bad choice because he turned out to be pretty shit for America, especially for the race relations in America. Not only that, but I literally voted for him because of me being racist. I was like, I'm voting for him because he's black, and we need a black person in the presidency finally. And not thinking at all what that meant, how racist that was of me to think, because I was still thinking as a leftist. What now? My family would always, and my family never explained politics to me. They just said, black people vote Democrat. You're gonna vote Democrat.
Yeah.
That's all they've ever said. Black people vote Democrat.
The irony of it.
Yeah, the irony
I
of
mean,
that shit.
yeah. The
You know,
starters of the KKK, the Democratic Party.
and then so what had started to red pill me was, although there's a number of things, there's a lot of things.
Sure.
I would say the strongest of it was was hearing Trump talk about fake news so much, and I'm like, dude, what is this guy talking about? And then digging into that, and then finding real stories and comparing them to what CNN was saying, and comparing that to MSNBC and ABC, and comparing the real shit that I'm looking at, the real video, the whole video, or the whole document,
Right.
or reading
Right.
the bill. Like, they're talking about this new bill, and I'm like, okay, let me pull up the bill and read it. And then CNN is lying about this. That's not what they're saying. They're saying something that's not in this bill that I'm reading. False. What the fuck is going on? I thought that's illegal for the news to lie to me. What's going on? And then the more I look into it, I'm like, they have no checks and balances to stop them. So
No.
what else have I been lied about? And I started digging more. That was that was a big thing that solidified my belief that I was at least wrong, right? In being a leftist. Now, what snapped and made me say, "Oh no, I am officially not a Democrat, not liberal, not any of that, and I publicly will let people know," is seeing how people reacted when Trump was elected. Was seeing all those SJWs screaming and crying like children,
Yep.
as if the world was going to end, and then seeing how all of a sudden, literally, as soon as he became president, everybody no longer was able to handle criticism.
The problem with that is it's just like anything else. He opened up Pandora's box, is what he did with the whole fake news narrative and letting everybody know what these people are telling you is not real. And once that information got out of the box, there was no putting it back in.
No, no.
And the whole reason that we have the complete divide that we have right now, because there's never been
No, that
as much
divide
as
actually
the
didn't
divide
exist
is.
for the last
No,
50 years.
nothing, nothing like this. Yeah,
And it's literally because of the news narrative. The news created that divide because there's two
right.
separate worlds. There's the news
And
narrative
people figured out.
and then reality.
People figured out how bad they were being lied to.
Yeah, and there's
And it,
there's no way to parse out. No, let me rephrase that. There's no way to reconcile two completely different realities together.
right.
There's when I'm talking to somebody and they're telling me I'm racist because of who I vote for and the party that I vote for and so forth. And I tell them, well, okay, so why do you think that? First of all, I'm not racist, so why do you think that? And then they give me reasons that have nothing to do with racism. But to them, that's what racism is.
And why is it?
And
It's because the Democratic Party has literally, and not so much the Democratic Party, but there are a lot of it. It's because they have literally taken, and that is how they have decided to polarize the country against everybody knowing what's going on, is because, look, you're right, you're conservative, you're racist.
Hmm.
And because they can't actually rely on telling, just what the media has to say, because there's too many outlets out there for people to get real information now to find out, holy shit, they're just lying to us about this. There's just too much of it out there. And again, like I said, Pandora's box has been opened. There's no putting it back in, and that's just it, you know?
It's a shame. It's a damn shame
Yeah.
because
Yep.
this whole time I'm like, well, now I'm, quote, I'm red pilled and I see what the fuck's going on. I see who the villains are, and I see who the people are that are at least on the side of the right side trying to fight for freedom. Whether they're doing it successfully or not is a different story. But
Right.
I'm like, well, if I can see this, I'm not a genius. I'm a regular guy.
Yep.
If
Me
I can
too.
see this, what's stopping others? What's stopping so many people from looking up? By the way, I don't know if you've seen that movie. The that the Don't Look Up movie. It just came
Ken,
out on Netflix.
just not.
Who's the dude that did the Big Mama movies or whatever? Tyler Perry.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
his
yeah.
movie, so it's a leftist spin, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, who's a leftist.
Okay.
But they do dig on everybody. Everybody in every political spectrum is made fun of in that movie. But the premise is, and what the movie's supposed to be, is a parody of the environmentalist claim that the world is going to end because of pollution, and the left or the right is ignoring that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what they do is the movie is actually about a comet that's heading towards Earth, a meteor or whatever, a big ass rock, and these scientists find it, and they're like, "Yeah, this rock is going to hit and obliterate the Earth in 6 months."
Of course it
And
is.
they go to the president in that movie, who is a female version of Trump, and they're just like, "Oh, whatever, we're just going to ignore that. That's whatever," and they're just freaking out that nobody will believe them and blah blah blah, until finally a couple months later, it becomes visible in the sky for all to see. There it is. It's coming. And they're like, holy shit, everybody look up, look up. And then the news is telling everybody look up. And then all the right wingers are like, no, they're trying to take our freedom. They're forcing us to look up. No, don't look up. Don't look up. And I'm like, oh my God,
Wow.
the irony of
Wow.
how fucking backwards that is. But then I'm going, wait, no, that's not ironic. That's what they do. They
It
do
is.
horrible shit, and then they say that it's the right that's doing that shit. They're racist as fuck, and then they say the right is racist. They
Yeah.
hate freedom, and then they say the right hates freedom. They attack all of our liberties, and then they say the right is attacking your liberties. They censor people and say that the right is all about hate speech.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. So yeah, that movie infuriated me because of how backwards it was. Because they were saying that basically they were saying the right wing won't just look at the evidence, and it's like, oh no, there's a whole other side of that that's actually not looking at any of the evidence. And their news, CNN tells you, do not look up your own information. They tell their viewers that don't do. They literally, I think it was Don Lemon who said it, and Brian Selter who said, "Do
Oh,
not
wow.
do your own research. That's where you'll find misinformation.
I didn't see
Only
any
listen to
misinformation
us."
about when Don Lemon was sticking his hands down his pants and stuck his fingers under some dude's
Yeah,
nose. But,
yeah.
allegedly, my bad.
Hmm. Yep.
So,
Yep. Thank you, Tony. Exactly. Always projecting. Exactly. They
yeah,
project, and that's
exactly.
all they do. That's all they do. They're like, you know what? If we just do some horrible shit, and then say that the right's doing it, and then we control the media, so anybody who objects will be silenced. So everybody will just think the right is horrible when we're the ones doing all of it. And it's like,
I'm
only.
telling you, and it's not just CNN and everybody else. I mean, I don't know about your opinion on this, but I'm going to say I think Fox News is out there for nothing but to wrangle in some of us and to kind of keep us back in there to where they think they can control us a little bit. I
Yeah,
know that may
controlled
sound a little
opposition.
crazy. Exactly. I
Yeah.
think that's all they're there for, because I mean, a lot of people don't know, recognize, or understand. Man, Tucker Carlson is the biggest flip flop. I mean, he is Fauci on mask, and a lot of
That
people
we'll
that haven't
disagree
been.
there, but I'm open for you to change my mind because I love me
I
some Tucker.
Well, I enjoyed watching Tucker, but here's what I'll say: go back a few years back and look at Tucker before Trump,
Okay.
and look at Tucker before, the news started getting exposed for being fake and everything else.
See, I haven't
And
done
you're
that.
gonna
I will admit I
yeah,
haven't done that.
you're gonna see a completely different side to that guy, and you're gonna see why I say I feel that. I mean, I feel that he's out there kind of like dear goodness, having a brain fart here. Chuck Schumer, not Chuck Schumer, dear
Oh,
God, Mitch
Mitch
McConnell.
McConnell. God damn it.
Okay, Mitch McConnell, man, he is going to say
He'll say
whatever he
whatever.
thinks people need to hear
Mhm.
to get him voted back in there. And that's it. And I mean, honestly, I feel that's what Tucker does. And I know I'm going to have a lot of people saying, and feeling that, man, you're wrong on that. But I'm telling you,
Well, yeah.
all I
If
say is go back and research him
exactly.
pre-Trump
Now, I will
and
say
see.
I would say there's a chance, a possibility anyway, that back then he was reserved and just at this point is just letting it out now because for one, he is a little he does have a little bit more of a of injection of his opinion
Sure,
than the other anchors on the show.
sure,
And there are other non-Fox affiliated entertainers, YouTube content creators, just people that he's worked with and done their shows with and interviews with that I wholeheartedly trust and they have praises about him, about
sure.
talking to
And I
him and whatnot.
and
So I'm guessing, I mean,
I
nobody's
definitely hope
perfect,
you're right.
but
Your version sounds a lot better, and I am down with that. I mean, I don't want to hold. I'm not Democrat, so I will not sit there and hold somebody to something they've done 50 years ago without giving them a chance to, change out. So I mean, I believe that people can change, and I hope that that's what was really going on there. Um, and I hope it's just not the good old telling you what you want to hear thing.
sure. And also, let's think about how much money he's made since then. He's incredibly wealthy now, and that puts you in a place where you're not going to be a leftist.
Sure,
you
sure,
know,
sure.
when you now you've got to worry about and even
Unless
like
you're Soros, but
well, okay, even if he was full of shit, right?
yeah,
Well, he's got to parse that out of the reality that when he goes home to his compound, there are people trying to kill him
sure.
on the left because he has a differing opinion. He's not stupid, so he even if he's lying, he has to see that the people he's lying for are horrible people still that are still going to
True.
threaten him because they don't know it. It's almost like hey guys, no, it's me. I'm really one of you. And if they're like, well, so what? We hate you anyway. Would you then say, oh, but I'm one of you, or would you say, oh God, I guess I'm not one of you? You know what I mean?
Right,
I
right,
have a
for sure.
feeling if he was saying more lefty or moderate shit pre-Trump, that maybe he got bit hard in the reality of what liberalism really is, and decided just like I did to completely wash my hands of
He
it. I
may
want
have literally just
nothing to do
gotten,
with them anymore. I'm not
yeah,
going to give them another inch now. I don't know. I'm going to watch some old stuff like you suggest. I definitely want to see that. That's very interesting. However, so
yeah. It'd be nice if he's just red pilled 100%. Call me skeptical, and the only reason I say that is just because of everything else that we see everywhere else. Everything's about tell you what you want to hear, and I mean, the whole media on either side, I don't really feel that they're really bringing you a whole lot of actual news. they're just kind of like most of your echo chambers, where they're just out there feeding more to what you already know and just
Well,
want
yeah.
repeated to
As
you.
far as news wise, yeah. Otherwise, all it is turn this on to find out how you should act today.
Yeah.
Like literally,
Yep.
and you turn it on, and I mean, and it's crazy because I've shown people this, and they're, I'll say, look, guys, I'm gonna turn on CNN right now. Before I turn it on, I'll tell you what they're saying, and then I'm gonna turn on Fox News, and it won't have anything to do with what they're saying. And then I'm going to pull up some stuff online and show you that none of them are talking about the actual news that we should be hearing.
Right.
And they'll see this and they'll say, oh, well, it's just this one time. Or, oh, maybe it's just because everyone really jumps to apologize for the establishment at this point, which is incredible to me that people first knee jerk to that before even giving credit to their own eyes, to what they're actually seeing. And that's pretty troublesome because I don't know if there's a way back from that. I don't see, how do you undo this? How do you undo
Yeah.
the damage the narrative has done?
You don't. I mean, you don't. You just have to move forward, and things have to start turning in a more accurate direction to our republic, if you will, and try to get back to what is normal. And another thing too, I'm just kind of curious about. I've been a conservative, obviously, my entire life. That's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tell me, how about you? You got anybody around you or anything like that that is bothered by the fact that you are now on the wrong side of the fence
Yeah,
for some people?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My partner, my girl, she's not very happy about it. She's sticking with me because we love each other. We built a family together. We have a daughter. We live together. We bought this house. But she's pretty left. She's very she's very in tune with the LGBT community.
Okay.
All of her best friends are in that community. Her sister is transitioning into a man. That hits home obviously really hard for her. So she has a hard time with the content and the message of the stuff that I'm about, because a lot of it is like pretty much dismissive of everything that community talks about. But she's understanding that I'm not hateful, that it's not coming from hate.
Sure.
I've explained that it's not about, we don't think that anybody shouldn't exist or have the right to live their life the way they see fit. Our address is, kids, leave them the fuck alone.
Right.
And you don't get to decide for me how I act. That's it. Yeah, be trans. Cut off your body parts. That's sane, sure. But you can't force me to validate you. I have free speech and free will. And
Right.
that's what we're fighting now, is that community no longer wants us to have free speech and free will. They just want us to obey them, not just be equal rights in society, which they already have. And so that's probably the point of contention with me and her, where she will probably never come over to the right, never red pill, because it's basically I feel too much for these people, so I don't ever want to be on that side. Whatever.
And see, there's not a problem with that, though. I mean, I understand it's good if people can be red pilled and people can come over, because of course we always want people on our side. But I think the most important thing is at least she can sit here and she can still get along with you. Where there's
Yes.
so many that have been divided by this entire dumb thing because that's all they want to do is
Yes.
divide people,
Yes.
divide and conquer. Quite literally, that is what it's
Yeah,
about.
and it worked. My
So
family, my
damn
family is
much.
destroyed. Anybody who's still in the chat, as my family and I are no longer speaking. That's very recent. They decided that they don't even want me around, and the only thing that's changed is that they know that I'm a conservative. They and as far as I'm concerned, it's recent because they're seeing their narrative shatter, and they're very sore losers. and they're like, and I hardcore feel like it's about them being afraid that I told you so on them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's more important to them to keep their ego intact than to keep our family together. You know, let him go. He's a fucking right winger now.
Yeah.
That's that. Like 40 years of life together doesn't mean anything to them, because then that's how deep this narrative has gotten to people. It's tearing families apart. That's why
Yeah.
when people say, you know, we need a divorce in this country, we just need to go our separate ways, not necessarily a civil war. Let's just peacefully divorce, or even if when people bring up, you know, is there another civil war coming? And it's like, yeah, where's that Dixie line? It's through the living room.
Right. And why is it being pushed so damn hard? Um, it's just
It's
like, I
both
mean,
sides, and
it
they
is.
both have a legitimate view here, somewhat, because there's irreconcilable differences between the left and the right at this point. Not everybody,
Sure.
not everybody. Like you
Sure.
said, me and her are getting along, but people that are most people that are at all interested in politics, whether they're well read into it or not, they're going to fall on one side of the aisle or the other. And right
Yeah.
now, the left side of that aisle says that we shouldn't even exist. We should be dead. That they want us dead. Okay? They want us dead, and we're evil.
Yeah.
We're not
Well,
saying that about them. We're just like, hey, you guys are fooled by the media. Well, we wish you'd wake up, because you're our brothers and sisters. You're American citizens with us. We don't want to be fighting you, but we're also not going to let you exterminate us.
right.
So if you're pushing towards taking away our rights, taking away our guns, fucking up our children's education, fucking up our children's mental health, and forcing
fucking our
sexuality on them at a young age, if you're doing all that, and we don't have a choice to stop you because you also control the government, Hollywood, the culture, the media narrative, we generally don't have an option other than maybe we need a divorce then. And on their side, there's some of them that are saying, you know what? No, we don't want a conflict. We just don't like them. Let's just let them do their thing and have their America, and we'll just do a new progressive America.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, that's fair too. At least those people are acknowledging that the conflict is ridiculous at this point.
Well, here's the other thing too is the exact same thing. If you had a came and said, in 2015 that you were a right wing, you were a conservative. The difference is this is pre the left and the Democrats politicizing the hell out of everything and making everything sound racist. Was before that day at Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner, you'd have got somebody cracking jokes on you and jacking with you,
And now you're not invited.
Now you're the Antichrist.
Yeah, now you're not invited. Now
Yeah.
you're not invited. Now they want and that's the thing that bothers me most about this. I can get along with living my life and just saying, you know what, I'm not listening to the government. They're full of shit. I'm not listening to the news. They're full of shit. Hey guys, let's have a good time. Let's go have a drink, whatever. Except I can't do that anymore. It's, hey guys, why are you saying fuck off? Why do you want me dead? Like, we can't even reach out to each other because they knew we can't. If we get along, we see their bullshit. We see that they're the enemy. So they have to make sure that we are always fighting amongst each other. Racial divisions,
Oh yeah.
sexual divisions, gender divisions, pay gaps that don't actually exist. All of these things that make us supposedly mad at each other and blaming each other, and it's not
Divide and
there.
conquer.
It's not even there. It's just a smokescreen for us to not get together and stop the establishment from fucking both of us.
And I mean, to think of how hard the government has had to work. I mean, you realize there are actual sections of the military branches that are literally for nothing else but antagonistic. They have literally used these people to start wars in
Yeah.
between countries. And now they're using these people against the United
Against the
States
United States
citizens.
citizens, against
It
our own
is
citizens, and
it is insane.
yeah,
And I mean, just to think that it could actually drive any family apart is absolutely insane. But it also goes to show you exactly how powerful the media really
it
is.
really is. I mean, if the media can show footage, very edited footage, of a school board meeting and a parent screaming at them about what they're doing, and then the media can say that the parents are terrorists, which is just like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
And people believe it, and well, Nancy called. She's coming over. No. We just saw her on the news. She's a terrorist, and it's like,
right?
excuse me, you're gonna like. People don't want to use their common sense because their common sense leads them to red pill, and red pill is scary if you're dependent on the system. If you're dependent on the system, that's the first flag I've seen that somebody will not red pill.
Yep.
Okay? If you know somebody who's on welfare, they will never red pill.
Oh no,
If you know
never.
somebody on disability, very very good, like full 100% disability, not military,
Yeah.
but very big chance they're,
SSI.
yeah, social, exactly. Find somebody on social security, they're not going to red pill.
No,
You find somebody living in low income housing, never going to red pill.
not in a million years.
Not in a million years, and that's the point. That's what I started to see is, well, everybody who's dependent is who will believe any lie because they want they want that big daddy there to take care of them.
They've been hooked on that government tit
Yeah,
so long they don't know what real life's actually about anymore. And the worst part is it's not even at that point they have literally limited themselves to survival. And they've went into survival mode, and the government has them convinced that this is the only way for you
yeah.
to
This is the only
survive.
way for you to survive. This is the only way
And
for you to go.
and if you choose anything else other than
Choose that.
Democrat, well, you're going to get kicked off this. And
Yeah,
I
if
mean,
you're,
the fact of the matter is, a lot of these people need to be kicked off of it, and need to get good kicking their ass,
yeah, and
and
that will get them
get out there
up
and get to work.
yeah, and this is actually funny thing is, so sort of touches on the video that actually got me in trouble at work, which was about this complete disconnect between us and liberals as far as just coming down to brass tacks, the actual what do we value? And like you said, that they value dependency. They value the government
Yes,
taking care of them. They do
absolutely.
not value the freedom to do as they choose to make a life that they want. They do not value responsibility. They do not value these things. They do not value building something yourself or starting a business.
No, that's how they become so anti-capitalist.
Yeah, they're
Because
anti-capitalist, and I'm like, well, if we're starting with you hate capitalism and you hate freedom and hate self-dependency, what are we even? How are we going to talk about any other issue after that? What are we even talking about now?
right.
What are we going to argue about? What are
Tell
we
me
going to
about it
debate?
when you throw away your iPhone.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Tell me about that. After you stop posting with your iPhone on Facebook about how
yeah,
much you hate capitalism. Then
right.
we'll talk.
Take off your Nike shoes that some poor little Chinese kid built. And then tell me all about how much you hate capitalism. All right.
Yes, exactly.
So
So, by the way, I'm just noticing for any viewers out there. I'm sorry. Again, this is my first live show, and I'm very sorry about anything that might be kind of annoying. And for instance, like the camera's up there, but my screen is below it. AC Mike in ACM, I can see him below the camera. Chat over there. Resources over here. My eyes move around a lot, and it might look like I'm not paying attention or I'm reading something, but it's really that I'm taking all the information in and making sure I'm keeping everything in check and not miss anything. So I apologize if you don't like that I don't stare dead at the camera the entire time while I'm talking, as most YouTubers do. I don't have a prompter yet or anything like that. This is, we're roughing it here, guys.
We're going
roughing
at this wild and crazy here.
Indeed,
So
indeed.
I mean, it's probably okay to look away from the camera every once in a while, anyway. Otherwise, everybody just kind of say you're a psycho killer. You got to get that look away every once in a while.
You gotta get that little quick glance, a little over there.
I mean, hell, at least you're not having to go like I am every once in a while to get my topics back up here. Honestly,
what's funny
because,
though is I actually, because I know I told you before, I streamed on Twitch for a couple years, so I'm used to being on camera.
Right.
But I've always had a problem with the position of the mic and seeing where my chat is, because when I'm streaming, I'm gaming. I have a fucking video game going, so I'm playing the game, and I've got to keep mind of the chat, because when you're streaming, it's really just about interacting with your audience. And so seeing the chat through the microphone in the game, that was a pain in the ass. But now I'm like, well, I don't have to game. I can just, this is nice.
Right.
I can just talk. Casparius says, you're doing just fine. Look at that. Look at that
well,
support.
thank you. Thank you.
I like it. Thank you, man. I
See,
appreciate
what I like.
that.
What I like to use my mic for is, see, my mic kind of helps to hide some of my age.
I didn't even notice how bright you got on the chin there. Look at you.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. I mean, it gets some good glow going on there. So, that microphone hides a lot of that.
Yeah, it does.
You know,
I wanted to ask you,
yes,
because as we were talking about, growing up, as a conservative, or red pilling for that matter, and since I didn't grow up that way, and I did red pill, and how do others address that? How do people treat me and whatnot? I mean, I could go really deep into that, and it'll kind of turn into a downer video, and I kind of want to do. I would rather focus on a video about that, because I actually had an idea about making a video to tell people, hey, do you want to red pill other people? Let me show you how to do it. Get them to post on social media anonymously and say they're a black conservative. And then how they get treated will show them that they're on the wrong fucking side.
Yeah. Unfortunately, very true.
Because had I been able to do that first, I'd have red pilled decades ago. Had I seen how fucking racist people are when they find out I'm not Democrat. Because at that point, when you're not a Democrat, it's okay to show your racism. When you're a black guy and a conservative. Okay, now I can show you what I think of black people. And they'll tell you, they'll call me that over and over, Uncle Tom this and Coon this, and it must be warm in the house, boy, huh? And I'm like, wow, you sound pretty progressive, bro.
That's an interesting choice of words for them to call themselves, quite honestly. Progressive.
Yeah. Regressive.
Yeah,
Jesus
right?
Christ, it's pathetic.
Yeah, here.
It's pathetic.
Oh, God, it's just like, what the hell? Thank goodness, I've already forgot his name. That's how unimportant he is. Jesse Smollett.
Oh, God damn. Juicy.
You talk about somebody.
Juicy.
Yeah. You talk about somebody
Juicy
who
Smollett.
set race relations back 50 frickin' years. What a
exactly.
POS,
Thank
man.
You. I don't remember who.
POS.
I think it was Arsenio Hall. It might have been Arsenio. It was somebody like just no longer relevant, but it was a black celebrity who had come out a week or two after the guilty verdict and said, I want Jesse Smollett to give me an apology live. And I said, you're damn fucking right, actually, because he just set us back. He set us back, and it was his doing alone. A lot of Obama did it. Biden's doing it. Kamala's doing it. But Juicy did it hardcore.
Did it bad.
He did it
bad, man.
He did it bad, and I think he owes the entire country an apology for that shit. But anyway, but what I was gonna say was, on that subject of how we're treated and so forth.
Sure.
What you're in a different state. I'm in California. I don't know if any of the viewers know. I'm in a blue state. You're not, right?
I am not. Absolutely not.
And you've been on the right wing your whole life.
Yeah.
Do you run into flack about that? Pre 2015, post 2015?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I have, I can't get too much in detail because I don't want to give away her personal information or anything,
Obviously.
but I'll say that, somebody that my son is, well, it's my daughter-in-law, and she is a Democrat. But with that being said, she is intelligent, and I do mean highly
Hmm.
intelligent. And we can actually sit there and converse back and forth about things without getting pissed at each other. And that is one of the things is, I mean, there are people that have a democratic point of view and maybe they look at things a little bit more on the liberal side and yes, they would like to have more freedoms for this and that, but also still have more of the pre-Trump democratic status on things.
Yeah. Well, they
And
still
still able.
valued the same things we value, just a
Exactly.
different road to get
Exactly.
there,
I
or
mean,
different obstacles that they want to address before the ones we want to address, and so forth.
just to piss off half of my conservative people, I mean, I hate to say it, but you know what? I am like I believe that a woman should be able to have a decision on abortions. Now, not this late term stuff. Hell no, absolutely not. That's off the
Hmm.
question by any means necessary. But again, you everybody has nobody is 100% hardcore conservative.
Exactly.
Nobody is 100% hardcore democratic liberal. And you know
Exactly.
what? It takes a little bit of brains to be able to get together and converse and argue your side.
Hmm.
And the problem is now since post Trump, the Democratic side has literally went to it's because you're wrong, shut up, you're stupid.
Hmm. Yeah,
Instead
that's it.
of
There's no
being able to
argument. There's
say,
no
no,
substance. There
no,
isn't.
please give
There's
me some
just,
argument.
yeah, you
I'm
guys
open to it.
stand for evil and racism, so shut up.
It's
And
just like
that's,
Steven Crowder. I mean, he does it so well when it's like change my
oh my
mind.
God, those change my
You
minds
know,
are.
Uh,
That
uh,
I will. Thank you for bringing him up. I will say first of all, I can't stand the crowd, the Louder with Crowder. That show is just too obnoxious for me. But when it's just him, he's
uh-huh.
fucking gold. That
Yeah.
man does so much for our cause. And those change my mind events that he does are some of the most grassroots,
Yeah.
tangible, effective things that I've seen the right wing do as far as in just informing people. And
Yeah.
I give him loud applause for that. But I will say, um, like you said, how nice it is to have these discussions, even when they're not. You and I mean, this is let's ultimately this is an echo chamber, right? You and I are talking about mostly things that we both agree on.
And
Enjoyable,
most
fine,
of the people that
sure,
are watching us are going to be,
and
right wing conservative for
exactly.
sure.
And
Yeah.
like you, I do have a couple left. I won't say left. I'll say liberal or Democrat friends that I have a couple. I have one in particular. I'm thinking about my friend Jason, and he's a teacher at that. So and he's vegan. So like off the bat on paper, if you told me about this person, I don't want to talk to him just because I've had so many bad experiences. And this guy is incredibly intelligent and very enlightening in the way he looks at things that most Democrats don't even look at. And we don't agree on things, obviously, but his arguments are at least intelligible. And we and like you just said, he may identify as a Democrat, but he's pro life.
Sure.
I identify as a conservative, and I'm pro both, which I'll get to in a second.
Nope. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I
So,
think if I'm an atheist. Most conservatives don't like that. They're like, oh,
right.
right off the bat, you're out. You're not one of us. And I'm like, yes, I am, because I understand the value of free religion. I understand the value that religion plays in people's lives. I don't necessarily share the faith,
True,
I
but
would like to, but
just like liberals, I mean, here's the thing, just like you have extreme left and you have extreme right. The problem with that is so many that were on the left marginally, kind of like we are marginally right, okay, right outside the narrative. But it's like they have extreme right, and that's the ones that's going to look at somebody like myself or you and like, no, there's no way in hell. You're not.
mhm.
That's
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
You're
you're
not
just
thinking in
not.
the right
Yeah,
ways. And people who actually are self thinkers and don't just let politics run their life and every damn thing else about it are able to look at it and say, yeah, yeah, that makes some sense. And it's the same way. You have a lot of Democrats and a lot of liberals that are out there that are able to look at both sides and both point of views and say, you know what? I look at it this way and I have my opinions on this, but I can see your side as well. And it's nice for the ones that are out there, but again, you have too much of the too far to the right, too far to the left, and man, if everybody could just get back at center on things, we'd
yeah.
be a hell of a lot better off.
And that I would say that that's probably the perfect leeway to circle back to that one specific topic, which, as far as I can tell these days, is probably the topic that I would almost say most of the youth of today would use to would use as the standard to whether they're right or left abortion.
Sure,
I'm
sure.
noticing a lot of people are really on the conservative side of things on almost everything, on almost every topic, but they're pro-choice, so they're like, I'm a Democrat. And adversely, the same thing goes on the other side. They may be fully liberal about things, but they're like, you know, I'm pro life though. So, and they're like, well, then you're a Republican. If you don't want women's freedom, you want to control women's bodies, then you're a Republican. That's all it takes to be a Republican. Apparently, is to want to control women's bodies, quote unquote. I think that is the best example of the hard left, hard right, no middle, because
Yeah.
that topic itself, there's nobody in politics on either end, left, right, center, libertarian. There's nobody I've heard talk about that subject the way it should be talked about in the middle, which is
Oh,
taking all
it,
of the
it, it-
things into account and not just, you know, terms and is it legal or not. And I'm like, well, like, we could talk about a lot more things here to kind of come to a middle ground on that subject. For instance, just throwing ideas out there that I've talked about with people. Well, let's say we're not talking about whether it's legalized or not. Let's just stop having taxpayers pay for it. That
yeah.
alone would probably quell a lot of conservatives to stop, tripping on it. That would quell a lot of leftists to stop tripping on it because they'd still be allowed to, you know what I mean? Nobody's talking about that. What about if, okay, well, let's acknowledge that, this is something that she wants to do to her body. Well, let's also acknowledge that we haven't even asked the father anything, and she
Right.
couldn't be pregnant without him. So where's that conversation? Where's the conversation about, okay, if she wants to keep it and he doesn't, he legally is not required to spend any money on it? Where's the conversation of he wants the baby and she doesn't want to have his baby and gets an abortion? Well, what? She just killed his kid as far as he's concerned. Like, these are
Right.
conversations nobody's having. And the other conversation, see, where why I say I'm both sides of it is because I try when we talk about civil issues in policy, right? Things that are
Sure.
about, drug and alcohol use, abortions, and, personal freedoms. I try to get empathetic first, right? And I say, okay, what would I be thinking if I was in that person's position here? And the idea that I have is, okay, if I'm a woman, do I want somebody telling me what I can do about anything in my body, period, right? Whether it's, And I look at it, and I've given people the analogy. I'm like, well, have you ever seen the movie Aliens? If a xenomorph, a facehugger, got you and then implanted a fucking cocoon in your chest, and you're terrified of it being in there, do you need anybody's permission to get it the fuck out? Do you care if it's alive? Right? Does that matter anymore? It's in your body, right? Does the sanctity of life matter, or is it sanct at all if it's dependent on another life or inside another life? Like, these are questions we don't talk about because these are the harder questions, right?
Sure.
And so I look at it as, look, if I'm a man, and men can't get pregnant, newsflash, but if I'm a man,
Well, they can today.
Yeah, no, I'm not playing that game. Nope. I'm a man and I can't get pregnant, but let's say a fucking facehugger, a xenomorph got up in me. I don't care that it's alive. I'm getting it out, and I don't need the government's permission to do that. So then I'm like, well, shit. If I'm looking at it like that, then that changes my view of abortion rights, right? Well, the problem is our Constitution does not protect the life, liberty, and freedom of xenomorphs. It protects the life, liberty, and freedom of humans. It is illegal to kill another human. And since technically left, right, middle, and all science we have no consensus on when life starts. We just don't know. Nobody knows. Anybody who says they do is lying. Nobody knows. We don't know.
I kind of go on the whole heartbeat rule.
We all can have our own standards, but
Sure.
as far as the federal government, it doesn't have any standard on when life starts. All it can go by is if something can be identified as human. And a fetus can, and therefore legally the government has to protect that life, right? So that's where I'm like, well, legally there is no grounds to allow that. But, hearing that. And so I was like, parsing all this stuff, I've come to what I think is probably, and again, I'm open to changing my mind, discussing it. I'm thinking the best middle ground we could probably come to currently, with our current understanding of science, our current understanding of the law, our current understanding of society and relationships and so forth. First, it's no longer funded by the government. There's no Planned Parenthood funding and subsidizing from the government. Somebody, Uncle Earl, who's 90 years old, hardcore Catholic, he should not have to his tax dollars to pay for somebody to get abortion. That's just ludicrous, right? So that, like, off the bat, everybody on both sides of the aisle really should agree with that. That, like, it's selfish for people to not agree with that, I think. So take that out right off the bat, right? And now it's a private enterprise. You privately open a business, and if there's a demand for abortions, then blah, 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 right? Now, legality-wise, the way I think, as far as right now, with our lack of understanding of when life actually starts, okay? I think the best way is to say, look, we're just gonna cut it. We're just gonna round down, or no, I'm sorry, we're gonna round up. As soon as you conceive and you're pregnant, that's life. But it's in your body, and we can't stop you from doing anything. You're allowed to do whatever you want. However, government regulation on any business that opens up to do abortions, and they have to abide by certain things. One of those things being, if somebody comes in and aborts their child for maybe a certain list of reasons, like they were raped or incest or something, then the government has some kind of subsidy for mental health care, blah, blah, blah. And then also, anybody who gets an abortion is registered as somebody who killed somebody. But we're not going to throw them in prison. We have to figure out something else. Maybe they no longer. Maybe they sign a waiver that if I'm gonna abort this child, and now I'm not going to have any children or conceive for 20 years or whatever or something. something like that would allow people the autonomy to do what they feel is right for their own body, even if it means hurting somebody else in their body, which the government protects that somebody else in their body. This is, and then deal with that separately. Just like we have, like, hey, it's illegal to drink and drive,
Sure.
but it's not illegal to drink, and it's not illegal to drive, and it's not illegal to drink and then get in your car and put on your seatbelt and put in the key in the ignition. None of that is illegal. We're not, but it's illegal to actually drive. You better not do it. And if you're gonna do it, go ahead. We're not gonna stop. We're not gonna tell you can't. We can't control you. We're not gonna stop you from getting in your car. We're not gonna stop you from getting a drink. But if we catch you doing that, you're gonna pay the fine.
I I I honestly think on something like that, the problem is if you're going to have something like that set up, you're going to have an issue where people are going to be afraid of the stigma and this and that, and sometimes even the people who have actual good reasons to do it
Well, name
are
me a
going to
good
feel
reason.
stigmatized.
Name me a good reason.
Well, again, rape,
Okay,
incest, things like that.
Okay, so you're raped, you're impregnated,
Sure.
traumatizing, right? Rest of your life, right? You
Well,
abort that baby, does that make the rape go away? Does killing somebody make the rape any better? First of all, does it take
does
away
not,
any of the trauma,
but
or does it add to trauma that you were raped and you killed a baby? And who are you punishing?
Well, it's
The
not
baby.
actually a matter. It's not that. It's a matter of basically being afraid of what are you bringing into this world? Are you bringing somebody into this world? Because it is proven fact that genes can follow down through, and the last thing you want to do is create another rapist. And my only other thing before I get in too much trouble on this topic,
fair argument. That's a fair argument.
is I gotta say, as far as I know, a bunch of guys are going to not like my point of view on this, and I really don't give a shit like anything else. But as far as the guy having a say in, hey, that's my kid, and I mean, here's my problem with that is if that is the way that things need to be laid out in somebody's eye, the problem with that is then that is the same thing as a woman, not wanting to get an abortion, but all of a sudden because the man wants her to get an abortion that she has to. And that's why I say that it is up to the woman at that point. And I mean, I think that guys need to, be able to accept, because the woman is going to have to go through some traumatic shit. Her brain's going to be screwed after that.
Yeah, there's chemical changes for sure.
Right.
Nobody's saying that any of this is easy. And that's kind of the beauty here is we don't even have to agree on these things. These are just conversations that need to be had. You know what I mean? I may be completely wrong, but it'd be nice to be able to have these conversations and hear that and hear about, oh, you know what? That's a good point. I think I'll change my position about this or that, you know what I mean?
And that's just it. We're both conservatives, and we're sitting here, and we both have obviously a slightly different opinion on this. But you know what? At least we're able to sit here and talk about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's all the difference in the world. If you're sitting down with somebody who's hardcore lefty liberal, man, everything we're saying here is just getting shot down, except for
We're not
one single narrow part of it. Yeah.
And I noticed Wifey did mention something that's interesting.
I'll see.
She said, she should have been in this. There's no woman here talking about women issues. I understand her point there, but I do reject that wholly. That's that whole argument from authority debate, which I don't buy that. That's like saying white people aren't allowed to talk about slavery because they're not black, when slaves were abolished by a bunch of white people that thought that was wrong. And if they couldn't talk about that just because they weren't black, then that wouldn't have happened. A lot of things in this world change because people just see it's wrong. Anybody should be able to talk about any subject if they feel it's an important subject or if there's something wrong here. I personally feel, we disagree here. I personally feel now. I didn't even feel this way. I didn't even, dude. My daughter we accidentally got pregnant, And I was like, this isn't happening. Let's go to the clinic. I was terrified. I didn't want to be a father. I was like, no, we promised each other we wouldn't have kids. I was horrible about it. The whole pregnancy, I was like, are we still going to be pregnant? You know, all the way up till the delivery room. I was in the room like, man, if it comes out blue eyes, blonde hair, I'm out. And I saw my face come out. I was like, oh, like, I guess it's my child. Okay. But I was still like, And then they handed me my child and told me to take my shirt off so that we could have that skin bond. And I fell to my fucking knees crying. It was the most spectacular feeling in my life. And I realized, holy shit, was I wrong. Holy shit, was I wrong that any level of convenience and any level of saving how I feel or think is worth taking somebody else's life. Like, no matter what. That's how I feel. And so therefore I then became incredibly pro-life and speak about it as often as it comes up. If anybody talks to me about that subject, I'm going to speak about it. And few times somebody said, you're not a woman. You don't have a right to have an opinion on this. And I'm sorry. I don't agree with that, because I don't think I would like for you, Mike, not to be able to speak about racism because you're not black. I don't like that idea very much, but I do respect the fact that this is two men talking about a woman's, what they think is a woman's. I don't even think it's a woman's issue, dude. Like, I don't think it's a woman's issue. Unless we just straight up say, should women have the right to kill something in their own body or not? Like, that's the issue as far as it goes for women to me. But outside of that, I think it's a question of, should the government protect all life or not? That's the question to me. And I just want more people to have the conversation, even if they can say, hey, you know what, Mark is so wrong. He's out of base. Here's some facts for you. Here's some stuff. Here's a position you might not have thought about. So I could say, hey, I've changed my position on this before. I can change it again. Give me a good argument. Let's see. We got chat moving here. We got chat moving.
Yeah, we do here.
We got. Let's see. Say stuff, damn it. Try, but it ain't being seen for the most part. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. When I'm talking, I'm not looking at chat. I'm sorry, Tonya. I will catch up.
Not to mention, every time I try to look at chat,
Yeah.
Haven't got this exactly all figured out yet, 110%. True.
No, sure. Here's the thing, Tonya. I completely agree with that perspective if that was the actual standard. That's not a standard. That's your standard. That's your opinion that life starts with a heartbeat. That's not the standard. We don't have a scientific standard.
Nothing standardized for it.
There is no scientific standard of when life starts. We don't know. We just don't know. It's all conjecture. Some scientists will think this, and some scientists, because then you have people coming back with the argument, well, my dad, had no heartbeat for 10 minutes and he was still alive. So what's the deal? And I'm like, that's kind of a weak argument, but I see where you're going. Like, what is life? Is my heart, if my heart stops, I'll die. But if my brain stops, I'll die. If I don't eat, I'll die. Like, what is, all these things. And until we have an actual standard, like, this is the definition of what life is in humans on Earth. When we have that, then I'm all for it. But right now, and here's the thing is, I don't even disagree with that specific opinion. I'm on the same opinion. That as soon as there's a heartbeat is when we know there's life. I personally just think there's life before that we can't detect, because a fetus doesn't require its own functions to be alive. So it may not need its own heart to be beating before it's alive, because the mother is pumping blood through it. Like, we don't know yet. When we know, we'll know. When we don't, I just think it's, to be honest, that leftist guy I was telling you about, that Democrat, the vegan guy, he said it to me this way. He was like, I just think that since we don't actually know for sure when it starts, maybe we just shouldn't be fucking with it right now. And that's all he had to say about it. And I was like, that's fair. That's a good way. That's one way to say pro-life without saying I don't want women to do. That's him just suggesting that maybe this is not smart of us to do or whatnot. The other side of it for me is looking into the politics of abortion and looking into the politics of Planned Parenthood and looking at the people who created this and why, and looking at the demographics and the numbers. And when you look at the numbers, abortion is just eugenics against black people. That's all it
is. And
that's all it is.
Whole rabbit hole to dive down.
It's
there.
terrifying to look at the numbers of how many black people would be on this earth versus the ones that were killed when you compare it to other demographics. Other demographics get abortions, but abortion clinics are in ghettos. They're not in Beverly Hills.
What?
So I mean, put like that alone, right? Like, really, like, are we playing freedom for women, or are they getting women? Are they using women as useful idiots to push their racism? You know what I mean? I bet
they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, they would never do that. Just like we'll have niggers voting Democrat for the next 80 years.
There. You're gonna get you.
No,
you're gonna
this
get
is
us found for the wrong
stream.
reason.
This is an adult stream.
You're gonna get us found for the wrong reason.
Well, I don't have enough viewers to give a shit, so we'll see. We'll see if the algorithm is paying attention. But yeah, I mean, if me and my quote unquote people are useful idiots to push the Democrat plan, which we've been used as useful idiots for 80 years to push something that doesn't help us and actually hurts us and keeps us down. And abortion clearly is another part of that mechanism to keep us down and to keep and to keep us from procreating and regardless of what people think of it or not, that's the result of it. So people being on board with that need to understand at least you're also pushing for eugenics against black people, because that's what they're doing it with. As long as it's in the form that it is now, funded by the government and placed in logistical, low-income, highly minority popularized areas, then you need to understand the government likes abortion because of that reason alone. It doesn't give a shit about women's rights or not. That's just how they keep it legal. They have women fighting to protect their evil fucking shit. And I'm like, that sucks, because yeah, women should have some peace of mind that the government doesn't get to dictate what they do with their body. But this was something I don't think should have ever been brought forth that way. It should have never been brought forth as a government program.
Well, it's just kind of like Tanya just mentioned down there in the chat, should only be used in cases of rape, incest, or where the fetus is endangering the mother.
Yes.
And that's the problem, is because there are so many that are just simply using it as an alternative to birth control.
Yeah, they're just using it as an alternative to birth control.
Alternative to birth control is not cool. And also, shout out there to Ya Boy. About consciousness, is definitely something to be. But when can you judge that, but
Jeez.
Honest to God, I gotta say it, man, and I gotta do this. How about that Alec Baldwin?
That's
not a subject change.
I think that's the best subject change we can get. All right. You know what? This is perfect, because you, sir, yes. You got a good, thank you for that. You, sir, have, I think, something that might help people understand visually who might not have been aware of this whole thing, but he should be in prison already.
Oh yeah,
Whether there was intent or not is irrelevant. I think there was
yep,
intent.
for sure.
Did you happen to look into who that lady was and what
Oh,
and who her husband was?
oh dear goodness, that is a rabbit hole, a
It
Hillary
is
Clinton rabbit hole if
really,
there ever was one.
really creepy. It is very
Yeah,
creepy. Like
yeah.
it's damn near like did Alec Baldwin act as an assassin? Was did they pay this fool to
No,
be a hitman?
never.
Is that why the whole movie production was so cheap because it was just a cover for like it got so dirty on that. But I
Best
don't
part
even.
is he's so stupid he still thinks he's acting.
Oh my goodness. I don't. What I don't understand is. Okay, we've talked about this before. You did a whole video on it. You've done
Sure,
multiple videos on it, actually, if I
I
remember
have.
correctly.
I have for
On
sure.
on one
I
hand,
mean,
I didn't even know until this situation that they basically stopped using prop guns in movies a long time ago,
yep.
and I was like, oh, well, that's the problem. I don't care who's like who pulled the trigger at that point. If you're gonna fund a movie and allow live firearms on there and allow those to be fired, like, I'm sorry, that's irresponsible. Period. I don't care if you hire an armorer to make sure that they're blanks. The possibility exists for somebody to get shot just to
The,
make a fucking movie. No, I
the
think that's ridiculous.
the idea that live rounds are even anywhere near the set is unreal. And I
Yes,
mean, there was
that
like two or
alone,
three
even if she
people
didn't
that,
get shot, he's the
yeah,
producer and allowed that. Okay,
yeah. And
allowing
I mean,
live
all the
rounds on the
people that
set,
walked,
prison.
people that walked off the set just 2 to 3 weeks before that because of people being negligent with firearms there and shooting off live rounds on the set, you know,
Exactly.
and it's just
I couldn't.
there no reason
Yeah,
no reason for
and
live
exactly
rounds to be on
now,
the set.
and so that said, I will say, I still, I still say, yes, it's Alec Baldwin's fault. He did this, right? He's the one that
Negligent
he's guilty.
homicide.
He's guilty. Yes, exactly. He's guilty. Homicide.
Yep.
Sorry. You pointed a gun at somebody. You fired, and a bullet went through them. They're dead. Guilty. Sorry. Now, I still stand by my initial reaction to the story, which is she'd still be alive if actual functional firearms were not allowed on sets.
Absolutely.
If that was not the way action movies were filmed, if they were still using prop guns that cannot fire live ammunition, physically impossible to do so,
Right.
then we wouldn't really have this story.
No.
We just wouldn't have the story. Even if he was a dipshit and whatever, it might have been a burn or something. But you know what I mean? This would not have happened had that general standard in Hollywood not been the way it is. Had Hollywood just understood that firearms are really dangerous, and all of the people on set that make a movie should not be around or have any access to any kind of real firearm for multiple liability reasons, including something like this.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, the ultimate fault of this goes down to Hollywood altogether.
I love how they're continuously trying to blame the armorer. They're trying to, blame the producer, this, that, and everybody else that told him, it wasn't a live gun. And I mean, I literally had so many people on my videos that were of slight, I'm not even going to call them dumb. Okay. Just people that didn't understand. And were sitting there telling me, well, it wasn't his responsibility because he didn't know and somebody else told him that the gun was not loaded. You know what? big thing. Anybody who knows anything about guns, anybody who's been around guns at all, knows the rules are you treat every firearm as loaded all the time, and you definitely don't ever point the gun at a person for another thing, and until you, unless you intend damage. And thing number three is to always check your firearm yourself and know its current condition, loaded, unloaded, hot, not hot, whatever
Yes.
you want to call it.
Now, with that though, I will give a little bit of a devil's advocate on it. When I look at it from the zooming in on the reality of it, right?
Sure.
For one, like you said, somebody hands you a gun and says it's not loaded. You didn't hear the not loaded part. That's how you should proceed, right? It's your
Exactly.
responsibility. Now,
Yes.
that's to me, that's when you're at the range, at home, at the house, in public, whatever. Somebody pulls out a gun and hands you a gun and says, "Hey, it's not loaded." You better damn sure use proper firearm safety practices and check it yourself.
Yeah.
That said, on a movie set, when the movie is about this, and I understand what a lot of people say about you pointed it at a person, but people have to understand a very big aspect of. Now, granted, in this case, it's actually irrelevant because it was proven that this wasn't even part of the scene, right?
Right.
So, but before that news came out, everybody was saying that, and they shouldn't have, because in movies, when you have a scene of the protagonist or the antagonist, there's multiple times that you get a down the barrel scene. They're pointing it at the cameraman and the director, because the director is always behind the cameraman looking at the picture to see if this is the right angle. So every time you see a show or movie where there's like this, where somebody has like a good one-liner or something, hasta la vista or whatever, that's a down the barrel shot, and you can be sure that's being pointed at the camera person and the director. That's what I'm saying. That's why we use prop guns.
Sure.
Because of that. Add to that. Now, again, this is irrelevant now because we learned that wasn't even part of the scene, so he shouldn't have even been doing a pointing down the barrel shot. However, again, if you're in this situation as an actor and you have an armorer who loads your gun with blanks, when they hand you the gun, first of all, as you've shown, it's a revolver. They can say it's not loaded. You can see it's loaded.
Yep.
You can just see it's loaded, right?
Oh yeah.
But that's where he's clearly lying. Who handed me a hot gun? No. You can see that it's fucking loaded. But he would have been a little bit more sly if he said, "Why the fuck was there a real round in there instead of just the blanks that I saw?" Because if he did responsibly grab the gun and open it and say, "Okay, yeah, it's fully loaded with the blanks," because they look the same on the back end. The primer has not been struck. So he would not have been out of bounds.
Let me interject on one thing, though. Okay, now the difference between a blank,
the front of the casing.
Well, not only that. See, a blank actually does not have a center primer on it. It's actually, picture, if you will, like a 22 round.
Like a rimfire?
Rimfire, exactly. Thank you.
I've seen blanks, though, that have a center fire
Have
primer.
you?
Yeah.
I have not. Okay.
Yeah.
But, okay. Well,
here's the problem, though, is in the movies, I would imagine they should be using the rimfire ones because they're easier to tell, because those are the more common ones. But you can make a blank out of any cartridge.
Of course, yeah.
You literally just take pliers, you pull out the bullet, you crimp down the top, there you go, you got a blank. And that's what I'm saying is like, well, in a normal situation, when someone hands you a gun, you have a lot of things to look at. But when you check that gun, you're not checking for, are they blanks or are they real? You're checking for, are there blanks in there or are there nothing in there? When you're on this movie set with an armorer that you paid to either load the blanks for you or not load the blanks for you.
That's something that's not even a part of the scene, and not only that, had no reason to fire the gun at
Yes,
all.
no, yeah, and it turned, yeah, no, that's the thing. As the facts came out, all of my points that I'm making are not actually relevant. It's just that all these were all relevant questions to be asking before that
Yeah,
news came out. You know, when everybody like when the story came out and we saw the Alec Baldwin acting like he's distraught, crying on the phone. Like, first of all, let me just say that it was so ridiculous of the fucking news to do that.
he's an
Like,
actor.
he's a fucking actor. Exactly.
Yeah,
Give me a fucking break. I don't care what he's. No, that was ridiculous. But anyway,
they
whew.
just cut out the part where he pinched himself on the nuts to squeeze out some
Exactly,
tears.
exactly, or onion in his eyes, or whatever the fuck. But
Yeah,
what when the story first came out, and I'm like, holy shit! I immediately thought somebody slipped a real bullet into a gun that looked like the prop gun he was supposed to have.
right.
How did somebody get a real gun on set? That's what my question was. How did somebody get a real gun on set? And then later to find out, no, that's what they had, and they all knew it. And then later to find out that's what all movies do now. They stopped using props like in the '80s. I'm like, fucking, well, then I don't know. It's his fault for using real guns, but and he shouldn't have fucking fired it. I don't know. Like we didn't have any facts then. All I had was I know in movies that people point guns at the camera sometimes. And
Yeah,
what happened here? Was it the same? Was it the Brandon Lee issue? No, that'll never happen again.
no.
But yeah, as the facts came out, it was like, yeah, this dude's just fucking did it.
Well, let me ask you this. Growing up, I mean, I know you know about firearms now and all that good stuff. Growing up, I mean, I want you to picture that, let's say your father was a firearms instructor,
Yeah,
okay, an actual firearms instructor.
I only
How
found that
much
out
would you have
last
had
week,
it?
by the way.
Yeah. I mean, how much do you think Alec Baldwin had it crunched in his brain growing up,
More than acting.
firearm safety?
More than acting.
Well,
He knows more about
oh,
firearms than he
oh
does
yeah.
acting if his fucking
Yes.
father was a firearm instructor. That's all
Yes.
there
And
is
if
to that.
anybody wants to check that out, hell, just simply go to Wikipedia, which is, hell, if there's ever a left site in the world, go to Wikipedia and look up Alex Baldwin. Alex Baldwin Sr. That was Alex, ALEC. That is his dad. And yes, he was a firearms instructing coach. So for all the BS out there trying to say, he didn't know this and he didn't know that, bullshit.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
had to throw that in there.
exactly. And Casp in the chat, he made an interesting point. Said there's no reason for anybody to be in front of the camera. Can't they just remotely hit that? It's really that comes down to directing style. Some directors are just very hard to work with and need to be in control of every little thing at all times, right there live. I'm behind the camera. Okay, move it over here. Okay, get closer to the camera. No, back up. Okay, no, there's some directors are like that, and they would die before they would let the camera be unmanned. So I don't know. I didn't really look into the history of this director or whatnot or anything, but I just I know that in many cases, down the barrel scenes is pointing at least in the direction of the director and the camera person. Now, there's actually a standard in Hollywood for those scenes for you to offset where you're aiming by like 6 feet from any person, and then to use a camera trick to kind of trick it. But
Sure.
again, if you're using live guns with blanks, you're still taking a risk.
Of course you are.
So I just think that it's not that I'm saying they deserve what they got on either side of anything. It's that I'm saying this is why we need to be using prop guns.
We do. And Alec Baldwin needs to be in prison.
And Alec Baldwin needs to be in prison. and he's
Get
still,
getting a little
you
shaft
know,
up his butt there.
yeah, boy mentioned a few minutes ago, you know, how the elites have a whole different set of rules.
They do.
He has a warrant for his phone since last year, and he still hasn't given him his phone, and they haven't just taken it.
Right.
Like,
Oh, and it's just like I seen,
why are
of
people
course,
from January 6th that haven't been charged with anything sitting in solitary confinement, and
right,
he's still out there
right,
drinking fucking lattes?
yeah,
What is
and
that?
I mean, it's called bullshit. Uh,
Why?
I mean,
Okay, but here's the other side of it though. Another side of it. An elite that got treated like us. Okay, why did Martha Stewart go to prison for insider trading, and Nancy Pelosi didn't?
well, because she's not an elected official that gets to get away with whatever in the hell she wants,
Why
and
are elected officials even allowed to play in the
they
stock
they
market?
shouldn't. Well, she doesn't.
She does. You can, dude. There's
No, no, her husband. Yeah,
you,
yeah, that's how they play that game, and it's bullshit.
God, and
It's just, I mean, it is illegal. And I mean, if you
it's
or I
not,
were
but
doing the
it's
same
fucking
thing with the
disgusting.
same information, we would be in prison.
Yes,
It's that
because
simple.
there's people that have built their careers on just investing on whatever Nancy Pelosi invests in.
Yeah.
They just, oh, this is, and that's just horrible. He said she was a cheap example to make. I'm not white knighting for Martha Stewart here. I'm just pointing out she's a wealthy elite
Yeah.
and thought that she can get away with shit because she was a wealthy elite. And even the wealthy elite are like, you shouldn't be fucking doing this shit. You're going to
Right?
prison.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like, come on. Come on, Nancy. What?
Well, at least she gets to enjoy her ice cream, right? You know, fucking bitch. But,
So what's going to happen? Is she gonna is she gonna look? Is there anybody? Is there anybody that the Democratic establishment has
you know,
that is
I'd,
going to
I'd
garner
love to,
support in 2024?
I'd love to tell you who it was. And I can't remember, unfortunately. The other day, I was seeing somebody that was talking about, if the Republicans take back the majority, which I don't see how in the hell they couldn't, but if and when they do, that do they plan to prosecute Pelosi for insider trading?
No,
And they said absolutely yes.
they won't.
And well, no, they won't. But just the fact that they would say absolutely yes, and that the news would ask, do they plan to go after her for insider trading, tells you enough right there that everybody knows it's happening
Oh, sure, sure. The
and
problem,
nobody seems to care.
what we don't want is what we're already there. But what we don't want is every time there's a new president, they just spend their fucking campaign going after the old one.
Yeah.
We don't want that, and that's exactly what happened starting with Biden. I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe it. Day one, undo everything Trump did and go after Trump
Oh,
supporters,
right.
go after conservatives, use the FBI and CIA to go after citizens because they vote this way, because they didn't vote for
Yeah.
me. What kind of shit? That's not a
Let,
peaceful transition of power.
let's send Homeland Security after moms and
Yeah,
dads.
Homeland Security
Yeah.
after moms and dads because they give a shit what their kids are learning in school.
There.
But
Yeah,
what?
there's plenty of parts of that damn alphabet crew that could be shut down tomorrow, and we wouldn't know any damn different. It'd be nice to see them gone.
Mhm.
Not to mention the tax dollars it would save.
Speaking of the alphabets, I don't remember where I heard this topic, but it was a really good point that was brought up, which is the Q in that
Okay.
snaked their way in, and because queer folk, that's not a sexuality, that's not a sexual preference. That generally means just someone who's kind of weird. who's just
Weird.
someone who's
Yeah.
just not normal, not the norm. They just a different type of person. Why do they get to take over something a movement that's about liberating their freedom to have their own sexual preference, right? And
Yeah.
the T, they completely took it over the Qs, and now the entire alphabet movement is to protect trans people. Has nothing to do with lesbians. Has nothing to do with gays. It has nothing to do with bisexuals. It has nothing to do with the sexual preference of anybody. It has to do with the identity of trans people being able to force other people to not only acknowledge and validate them, but they're pushing so hard as to now saying if you don't sleep with a trans person yourself, you're homophobic.
Right.
And my thing is like, wait, where is the entirety of the LGBT community coming out and saying, no, fuck you guys, you don't represent
No, I'm
us.
part of the LGBT community.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
The LGBT, why aren't they coming out saying, look, this isn't what we're about. You guys are fucking this up. You guys are about hate and control and separating people and getting at kids. Dude, I don't know any gay people that ever were interested in teaching kids to be gay.
No.
Like, what the fuck is going on? And why aren't they standing up to speak for themselves? Why aren't they saying, whoa, this is not what we stand for? You know?
Like I say, with all the pedophiles and all that crap out there.
That's all it's turning into.
Like, there's only one fix for a pedophile. And no matter what it is, it always starts with a number and ends with a CAL or a millimeter. And that's my true opinion of
beautiful.
it.
Beautiful.
That's just how it is.
Or,
I mean, I have no problem with the LGBT.
Long drop with a short stop.
You know, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't care. I mean, you be you.
Yeah.
My thing is, don't try and force it on everybody, and that's all this trans community is trying to do is trying to force their beliefs. You know what? There used to be a simple old thing, man. Keep your kinks in the bedroom, dude. You know, do you.
Exactly.
You want to be how you are out in public. I don't give a crap.
Yeah, but that's all they're about, though. It's like, what if all I was about was pussy? That's all. All I talk about is I like pussy. That's my entire life, my entire being. What if that's horrible? Nobody. That's not a movement.
No,
that's not an identity. That's childish. That's obsession. And it's like, dude, like you said, whatever your kink is, this is America. Have it, enjoy it, indulge in it behind your bedroom. That has nothing to do with. It shouldn't have nothing to do with public, your job, your employer, my children. Like, you know, that's not what it's about. The problem, I had this conversation because, again, I have many gay and lesbian friends because I'm not a fucking bigot. But I talk to them and say, okay, so what's the movement about? What do you want? And they just say equal rights. And I'm like, what rights do you not have? And they say, I want to be able to fight for my country.
Yeah.
And I say, I want to be able to fight for my country. So, does the military have to change their standards to allow me to go in there unhealthy and overweight? Because they rejected me because I couldn't get out of the way in a burning tank through that little hole.
Yeah.
And they said either lose weight or gain this many centimeters on your neck, which represents muscle mass, so that even if you can't, you can lift up and push other people out. That's their standards. What can you do? They don't care who you sleep with. There's nothing in the military saying gay people and lesbians can't be in the military. What they're saying is if you can't cut it, we're not going to change the standards so that you can.
Right.
And then they're saying, okay, well, you know, I've had my lesbian friends. Well, I should be able to fight for my country just because I'm a woman. And I'm like, well, that's not really a gay or lesbian thing, is it? That's you're talking about a female thing now. And again, no, can you do what's needed to? First of all, my main stance on that is, look, the military is not the world stage for you to be represented on your identity.
Yeah.
That's not the place to do it. That's not the place for you to tell the world who you are and how valid you are and how unique and special you are. That's not the place to do it.
Right?
It's just not the place. That's not why we have a military. And I understand that some people are like, well, that sucks that I can't serve my country. Well, you can serve your country by being a great citizen. Pay your fucking taxes. Vote correctly. Look out for your community. Raise a family.
Pay your fair share.
Pay your fair share. Yeah, that's how you fight for your country. If you can't physically cut it in the military, then you do it that way. I would love to have been able to do it. I couldn't cut it, and I was too lazy to get healthy, so I didn't get to do it. I didn't say that the military should now allow a bunch of fucking fatties in there just because I'm fat. That's ridiculous, you know. And
well, Lizzo will be in there next week, so.
Did you see? I mean, this is kind of old news now. Did you see the comparison videos between between China, Russia, and American military? The recruitment videos.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Our recruitment video is currently an animation, a cartoon about a little girl raised by two women.
Yeah.
Going into the military to represent the LGBTQ and blah blah blah, and I'm like, wait, what? That's the recruitment video? Is tolerance and acceptance and like what? You know, our enemies are watching this, right?
Right.
You know those badasses over there that are beating the shit out of each other to harden their warriors to attack us are watching this.
And the Russian military video versus the United States.
Dude, that video I was like, damn, dude, they got it going on in their military. Shit.
Right?
I was like, that's how our military should be. It should not be nice. It shouldn't be friendly. It shouldn't be... Dude.
We don't need fucking Walmart greeters in the military.
No, we don't. Exactly.
I mean...
No, we don't. No, we don't.
That's what they want to push out there.
We need strong, hardened soldiers willing to put their lives on the line to protect our freedom. That's it.
Fuck this whole diversity hire bullshit in the military. I mean, quite honestly...
Anywhere. Kamala is a diversity hire.
I mean... all bullshit aside, I don't give a shit, and maybe I'm speaking wrong because I'm white, you know, and I'm sure somebody's going to think that, but I'm going to say, I feel that if I was a person of color and I got a job because of a diversity hire, I would tell them go fuck themselves. Absolutely. If that was the only reason I got hired. I mean, that's plain and simple, because right now, if I got a job just because I was fucking white over somebody who was a different color, and I wasn't as qualified for the fucking job, if I got it because I was white, I'd be fucking pissed.
Yeah, it's insulting as hell.
It's plain and simple. It is.
It's insulting as hell, and that's the part that I'm like, I trip out on people that dislike me and call me, Uncle Tom, or want to be. You're just trying to be white, and I'm like, dude, you're not insulted that they think you're just pathetic and you can't do anything on your own. Seriously, that doesn't insult you. Because it fucking sure as hell insults me. So, I don't know what to tell you. No, I'm not trying to be anything but equally represented by the law. That's it. You know, yeah. I don't get what this, I don't get it. The world has gone mad.
Did you see that down there about deleting that comment?
What do we got here?
We got...
You need to delete the FYI comment. It's a
phishing.
A phishing link. FYI. Oh, this one? Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. Probably not bass fishing. But thank you.
It won't even let me. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I have to delete it here. Sorry. I wasn't signed in on OBS. Here we go. We'll remove. Okay. Either a bot or a leftist that doesn't like what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Whatever. That just makes me feel good.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know how many people we've managed to piss off tonight. Hopefully a few.
Yeah, hopefully a few. I think we've done our good deed for the day here, and we've ruffled some feathers. We've got some good topics. Got juicy here. We definitely shared some ideas with each other. We disagreed, We're still friends. This is how things should be in this country.
It,
I'm
it, it is,
I'm
man.
quite
And
satisfied.
and you know what? I think we're definitely going to be doing some more of this, and hopefully we'll have our shit together a little
Yeah,
bit more.
yeah, oh yeah. I think we clearly, that was part of what this first show was, to show us where we need to get our shit together here to get it going. I'm glad that
Yep.
you agree that this is something we need to do more often. Sounds like we got some interested parties as well. Tony might want to join us sometime. That's great.
Yep.
If you want
Yep.
to have me on your show anytime, I'm down. Let me know.
Sounds good, but see, I already know I'm gonna fuck that all up. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna
Well,
wait till I think I've got shit
yeah, well,
right,
yeah,
and
so that's okay. For the next few times, I'll host you. That's cool. That's cool. We'll do it. Either way, you're gonna get your shout out. We'll get the traffic over to your channel regardless. So, I guess for that, I think we can go ahead and call that a show. Thank you guys for joining us
thank
tonight.
everybody. And
Yes,
hey,
yes,
thanks
thank
to
you.
everybody. Appreciate the compliments there too.
Very much so. You guys,
So
the support was awesome. I very much appreciate you guys hanging out the whole show cast. You've been a supporter for so long, bro. Much love, dude. Much love.
you know
Um,
the deal, man.
yes,
They're
don't
just
everybody don't forget, like,
us
subscribe.
white supremacists got to stick together.
Yes, exactly. The white man must stay in power. Hit up ACM News, guys. His link is in the description. He has his own channel and lots of content there for you to go ahead and chew on until the next thing we upload. He's got to have a new video up probably tomorrow or the next day. I will be chopping this up, maybe trying to get a little bit of content. It's maybe not as clear as I wanted it to be, so just a heads up. I don't know if I can chop this up like I thought. I might
Hey,
just
we're
have
gonna
to.
find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. But yeah, for now, we'll go ahead and call that a show. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. Let's go, Brandon.